Hello my friends and welcome back to another episode of Flutter Explained. Today we want to talk about how we deploy our Flutter application that we create for Android via Codemagic to the Google Play console so that we make it release ready. That is called continuous deployment and is part of our series for CI/CD that you find up in the info box. And what we will do is first we will create a Keystore. We will prepare everything that we will need to make sure that our deployment is running fine. So we build our ABB file and then at the end we use Codemagic to really make that automated thing. And at last I have even a special trick for you that you can use into your CI/CD pipeline. But before we start with our series today, thank you Codemagic for supporting this video. Alright, and without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so the first thing that you have to do after you have created your account is creating an app that you want to start. So for us, we go to the Google Play console. Here we have all apps and click on Create App. Here you enter the name of your app. For us, this is Deployment Tutorial. And we have the default language. For us, it's English. We have an app here. For us, it's free. You can also set it up as paid app, but you have to declare that as at the beginning. And after that, you click on Create App. This will create the app directly inside of Google Play console. Now that we have the app, you have a lot of different options, like for example, the different testing branches. We will create probably an internal testing for now. Then you have pre-launch parts, you have release overviews, you have really a lot of information here. So what you could do if you really want to publish your application is go to the main store listings and start to fill out all the descriptions, pass in the different images and so on and so forth, and take your time. This is really crucial because how well you are perceived on the store is very, very important. So make this correct, make it as good as possible, because this will decide how well you will be found in the Google Play Store at the end. Same thing will be applying to the Apple Store Connect. There it looks a little bit different, but it works actually the same way. So in the next step, we have to prepare the Android APK or ABB file. This is the actual release build of your Android file. For that, we will have to create several steps that we have to do. First of all, we have to generate a Keystore for that we can reuse. Then we have to convert the file into base64 so that we can publish it on Codemagic in a secure way. After that, we have to reference the Keystore in our app and inside of the Gradle settings. And then we are ready to publish our app on side of Google Play Store. So, sounds easy? Let's get started. This is the right moment to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet. Thank you. Alright, for the next step we will find ourselves in the terminal. Why? Because we have to create a Keystore. I prepared already a script for that looks like this. Don't be afraid, we will go step by step through it. So for the key tool itself, you will need a Java installation. Probably you have one if you have made some Android development already. If you don't, the prerequisite is you need to have Java installed. After that, you can usually execute key tool directly from the command line. To make sure that you have your Java installed, you can enter Java version. And in my option, I have a homebrew installation with the version 11.0.19, which worked perfectly fine. All right, but for that, back to my script. What we can see is we want to generate a Keystore. And what we do is we define the path and the name we want to give our Keystore. In our case, we move it to the temp folder, TMP, and inside of here we create the Deployment Tutorial Keystore JKS. I just randomly gave that name. You can set that up as you wish. The name is not so important. Important is never check this file into a version control system. This is the real version or the most important file of your app, because with that you have the possibility to upload a new app into the Google Play Store and use your store listings and everything. So it's like the fingerprint of this application. So if you really want to deploy it into the release branch and it should be deployed there, make sure that this file is somewhere safe located where only you have access to it. After that, I just pass in some additional information, like the algorithm that we want to use to encrypt everything is RSA. We use a key size of 2048, and the validity is infinite or very long. So that's the time how long it is valid. And last parameter is alias with the name that we alias it. We will need that later as a configuration file. So I called the alias here deployment tutorial. You can also just name it release or upload or anything else. Good. Now we enter. With that, we have now to enter a password for this Keystore, and I will use a very secure password so you can directly follow me in this tutorial, which is password. And I have to re-enter it, so we do it. So now, what is my last and surname, the name of the organizational unit? You, of course, enter your stuff, like your name, your organizational unit. It's Flutter Explained. That is Tadayon and Weber GBR. We are based in Karlsruhe. State is Bavü and DE for us. Is that correct? Yes. So if we have followed that path, you can see it according to macOS, you will find there is a path in our key folder. And if we follow that along, like going to TMP and we make an ls here, you can see, I think it's Lisa. Yeah, great. So you can see here that we have this deployment tutorial Keystore JKS, which we will use in the further session. So make sure you have that file. In Windows, the setup is a little bit different. I will share down in the video the documentation path so you can easily follow to create that. All right, now we have that file, right? So we have now to convert it to base 64 to give that as an environment variable into Codemagic itself. For that, we get this little script here. And what it does is it takes the file that we pass here inside, converts it to base 64 and makes pb copy, which is nothing else than put it into the clipboard. I also share a link down in the video description again for Codemagic tutorials, how you can do that on Windows. So we press enter, and as you can see, there comes a lot of information now. And with that, we can set it up in Codemagic to use that Keystore for us. So in Codemagic, you can see this is our project, CI/CD tutorial. And if we press that cog here, we come to the next part. And here we see the environment variables. If I press on that, you can see we can set up a variable name. In our case, we call it just Keystore file. We pass in the value. This is the stuff that we have now in the Zwischenablage. Copy paste thingy majingy. And then we have the select group where we use Google credentials. We make sure that secure is checked. And last but not least, we press on add. If we do that, we add now this as an environment variable and make it accessible through our build timings when our CI/CD is running. All right, now that we have set up everything on Codemagic side and we know exactly how our Keystore is provided, now we have made our Android project aware of these changes. So first of all, we will have to create a key.properties file inside of our Android folder. The second part that we will have to do is update our build Gradle file, where we have to read that key properties file. And the third thing that I will do now is I will put our JKS file, like our Keystore file, inside of the app folder. The reason for that is we want to build it once locally to see if it works and then push it up to Codemagic so that there it will be executed in the right manner. All right, so let's get started. First, we get our file, deployment tutorial Keystore, from here. And I think there is a missing extension. Well, anyway, let's grab that and copy it. And I move it into the app folder for now and say copy. And we have now here our Keystore. Inside of our key properties file, we will have to set some properties, such as the password of the Keystore, the key password, key alias, etc. pp. Please make sure that these keys property files should not be checked in in version control, and you should never share it with someone you think it's a little bit shady. So this file is really important to keep track of your app, and yeah, so just don't give it away. I'm sharing now anyway with you, so don't worry. It will be not a production app, so I think that's fine. And with that, you will not have the possibilities to make too much shenanigans. It's just to have an example for you here. So we enter the password that I perceived yesterday, and we have another password. The key alias is a deployment tutorial. And the store file is, in our case, I guess it is /deployment_tutorial keystore.jks. So that is just the file path to this file here. And we have now this information, but the key properties is until now not known from the build Gradle file. So here we will have now to register that file so that the Keystore can be read. For that, I have prepared two scripts. You find also down in the video description all the documentation around it. So what we have here is the Keystore properties, which is a new properties in Gradle. Then we read the Keystore properties file. As you can see, we go to the root project file, key properties. And if this file exists, then we load it into this Keystore properties values inside. So in this properties object. And that's the first step. The second step is inside of our build types. We have the build type release. And this one is set up for debug mode. That does Flutter automatically to make sure that you can build always a Flutter release build. But for us, we would like to change that slightly. And also here we have something prepared. I will copy paste. And what you can see is we have now in the sign-in configs the release part. And we set the key alias, the key password, the store file and the store password from the Keystore properties that we have loaded up there into the key alias, key store, password, etc. pp, which is just the values that you see here. And as you see, they are not grayed out anymore, and I can now jump to the place where they are used. And in our build types, we change now the release build type and the signing config to the signing configs part, which is up here, dot release, which is just this object that exists here. And please don't make the same mistake as I did always and add here a colon. It's just wrong. Don't do that. It's just matter of fact. Cool. If we have that, we should now be able to run Flutter clean. That could be possible necessary because the build Gradle file has changed. So if you have any unmade builds on the background, it could be that there is an issue. And now let's go back to Flutter build app bundle and let's see if this works. So first we get all the dependencies. That looks good. We're running build Gradle and let's see if we are successful here. Great, now we have a successful build and you get that link path where the build is lying at build app outputs bundle release app release. And this is the file that you can now upload actually to Google Play Store in order to release your app. And if you would do a deployment manually, we would do that. But be honest, is that a good solution? I don't think so. What we want to do is take a CI CD pipeline for that. Before we continue, a quick shout out to our sponsor Codemagic. Codemagic is a powerful CI/CD platform specifically designed for Flutter and Dart developers. It streamlines your app development pipeline, automating builds, tests and deployments, and integrates with popular tools like GitHub, GitLab and Bitbucket. Enjoy features like build caching, code sign-in and third-party service integration to ensure a reliable app release. If you are a Flutter or Dart developer, consider trying Codemagic to enhance your development process. Thanks to our sponsor for supporting this video. So what we have is codemagic.yaml, where we created already our two workflows from the last video. And today we would like to add also another workflow for Android. Android build deploy workflow with a name which we call Android deployment workflow. And now I will check out the old information because the most things we will keep as default as possible. The instance types will not change. The max build duration could be shorter even. I think all that metadata we can just use. We want to use the Google credentials, as you know from the last part where we added Keystore file into Codemagic. Then I don't think that we need the Firebase project because if you would create such a thing, you would usually run the tests further beforehand. So what that would mean is that you would run the Android workflow before you run the Android deployment workflow. In our case, we will just run the deployment for now, but in a real solution, we would have that probably different. Today, we want to switch that also by creating a triggering. So, and here I have it. So that means events, and we have the event of tag creation. And what we also want to do is whenever we have a previous build, we want to cancel that. So that means we only build once. Also, we reduce the max build duration to 30 minutes. Okay, but now comes the interesting part, right? If we have all that, we need our scripts part where we have to write what we actually want to achieve. So let's make sure that we are on the right level. We add scripts where we add a short name, set up the Keystore. And this is our first step that we would like to do. And how can we do that? So the first thing is we will have to say our build machine that runs on Codemagic side, please add the debug keystore or the keystore that we have created into a specific file location, because it is base 64 encoded, which is just a very long string of information. We want now to create the file back from this base 64. So what we will do is we echo the keystore, or what did we call it in, I think, keystore underscore file, $, don't miss it. We use the base 64. Then we say decode, because we want to get the file back. And then we say where it should be dropped. So we call that keystore JKS. Good, and with that, we have our file somewhere laid down. And we have to say that, yeah, that's fine, I guess. And now with the next step, what we want to do is we would like to put this file somewhere. So we say cat, we put it on the CM, Codemagic, build directory. So in the directory where we work, Android, and here we pass it in into the key properties. That means here we need to add some information. All right, so what do we cat inside of this key properties file? First of all, we want to have our store password inside, store password. So, and if you are funky now, you would not add everything here. You would create for each of these values a system variable like key store password. You would add key password, and that would be the key store key password. And then you would add all these environment variables into your Codemagic part where we added also the file store. And we will not do that for now, or actually let's do that. So we have the key alias, which is in our case the deployment tutorial, and we have the store file, which lives under temp keystore.jks. So that is this file path. All right, and with all of that, we can say end of line and finish off more or less what we enter into that keystore file, key properties file. Good. So with that, we have set up build Gradle, and this would be the first step. So we set up our keystore. Now, is that a thing that already works? Probably it will not solve anything. So let's add also a second part where we build our AAB file, or where we build, just let's call it build, I guess, right? And how do we build now? Let's give that a better name. I think AAB is fine. And then we have the scripts part where we go now into the CM build directory. This is there where our code lives, more or less. Then we say, please go and update and get our packages. And last but not least, build our app bundle as we did it here. Next step is quite simple. We want to keep the artifacts. So that means we will see in our Codemagic website where the artifacts reside. So we can directly download them actually from Codemagic if we would like to. And last but not least, we want to add a little publishing node. So we want to publish that to Google Play Store with the credentials of a service account. Oh, we forgot to create that. Let's do that next. And then on the track alpha. Okay, but how do we get now a Google Play service account? All right, first we will have to go to the Google Developer Console. If we are here, we will have to create a new project because I have already a lot of them, but you will probably go to new project, enter a name, deployment tutorial, for example, where you add an organization if you have one. If not, you just take no organization and press create. It will take a second and creates you the information that you need. And then we will have select the project. What's happening is up here, you have the different project. Go to APIs and services. And here we would like to have the we need to enable APIs. And we need the Google Play Console. Let's search for that. Developer Reporting API. Who wants to build automated workflows on top of the Google Play Console data, or to use Google Play data for internal business reporting and analysis. So exactly this one, we can enable that. And if we have that, we have to wait a second until we can use it. And the second API that we will need is the Google Play Android Developer API. And this one we also enable. Good. Now that we have enabled the APIs that we need, we go down to credentials. And here we would like to create a service account. So go to create credentials, service account. Give the service account a name, for us deployment tutorial. You can give it a description or anything else. And we say create and continue. The role is service account user that we would like to have. Let me see. There it is not. Is it an EIM connection? No, let's continue for now. Service account user's role is the service account user. Let's see if that works. Nah. All right, so what we can do is just make it done. And now we use that by going inside of edit service account permissions. And here we say grant access. We give the name of the email address and say service account user. And here we add that, press save. And this email address is now important. We switch over to the Google Play Console where we have our app created. As you can see, we have here the second line, our app deployment tutorial. But what we need to do is going over to users and permissions. And then here inside, we invite a new user. We pass in the email address from the service account. We don't set an expiry date. We add an app where he has access to. We pass in the admin rights in this case. So this service account will have now all the rights to be on this project. And with that, we are done and we press invite user, send invitation, and we can see the status is now active. So this user has now access to this app to deploy it. Great, but that's not all, right? What we also have to do, if we go back to the deployment tutorial, we need to get somehow the information who this user is, and we have to pass it inside of Codemagic. Now, over here at service accounts, if we press here once more, you come to that screen where you can see your service account with this nice little key lock, and you have a key ID, no ID. And if we press on these three dots, we want to manage our keys and say add keys, create new key. We do it in a JSON format, say create, and with that you get a file downloaded, as you can see, that called deployment tutorial JSON at the moment, which allows me to give access to the cloud resources. So we want to pass that inside of Codemagic with all the other relevant values, right? So again, we have this file now and we have to switch over to our terminal. As you maybe remember from yesterday, we now have to set up and ask for the So on our terminal, we have now to switch to our downloads folder where we have now this deployment JSON file. And if you remember the last command that we did, let's go a little bit up, we will find our fantastic little script. So now let's head over to the terminal in our downloads folder. And here we need to execute this nice little script again, where we want to have the deployment tutorial JSON inside of our base 46. And if we comment, we get again a long string. Good. With this information, we head now over to CI CD into our options. And here you can see the environment variables again, where we have to set up the different information. So the value is what we got here. And the variable name is the Google Play service account. Here we select the Google credentials, press secure and add. Then we need, what did we add also? I think we added also the Keystore and key password inside. So the variable name is this, which is quite easy. We use the same credentials part. Variable name can contain only letters. Okay, great. So It should not be this way. Okay, understood. So something like that. Google credentials, perfect. Then we have the same thing for the Keystore, which is also password. We select the group and add the whole thing. Now it should look like this. And our script that we will now publish and upload should be then visible here. So let's commit the changes and push that inside of our project. Good. All right. So as we can see, the Android deployment workflow is now part of the Codemagic YAML file, and we can see the whole workflow here. So what we want to do now is I would like to actually press on Start New Build. We choose our branch from which we want to build. We select our new workflow, the Android deployment workflow, and we click on Start New Build. So let's do that and let's see how the build is turning out. Hopefully we will deploy something to Google Play Store. Let's see. All right, there are good news and bad news. First to the good news, it created our AAB file and it failed in publishing. That is the bad news. So there is something that the Google Play failed to upload the artifact because the package is not found. That means you have never uploaded a Google Play AAB file before, and you have to do it at least once manually. So what we will do is we download this AAB file that we created, thanks to Codemagic. Then we go to internal testing. We create a new release. I did that already, so I have added release. We drop in our AAB file inside of here. So let's see if I find that quickly. So take that, put that here. And with that, we upload our very first AAB file. First test version of our application. While this is uploading, we add some release notes. First upload of our application. So now it will take a second because the upload takes quite some time. And as soon as this is done, we should be possible. We'll sign everything via Google Play. That's fine because we don't want to create and manage our own keys additionally. And if this is uploaded, we can see the API version, the target SDK and things like that. And with that, we have uploaded that, say next. We get some warnings. What do we have? The release will not be available to any users. That's fine. Contains native code and you have uploaded debug symbol. Fair enough. Let's save the whole thing. And with that, we have our very first application uploaded. So now let's try if we can run our CI/CD once more and see if it's uploading now correct. All right, again, a good message and a bad message. The first error is gone, but the second error is now here. Google Play failed to upload the artifacts because the project ID is not used by the developer console. What does that mean now? Well, we have to link our Google Play developer account with the Google Console developer account. That is always a little bit confusing. So if you, what you need to do is going to the Google Play console, and there you will find the subpart API access. Here you find the Google Cloud projects, and if you press on link an existing project, you can select one of your projects. In our case, it is the deployment tutorial. If I save now and rerun the CI/CD, we hope that this works. So let's do that. All right, great. What's that? So after the third time, here we go. After the third time, we finally managed to publish. Not good. So after our third test, we have managed to publish our application onto the Google Play Store. And if we reload here quickly, we can see we have now the release 1.0.0 draft. And if we show the summary, we see all the different kinds of things. And that means here we can now upload our newest versions. And this one comes straight out of Codemagic. Isn't it great? Now you have a full deployment journey for Android. Isn't it amazing? Great, look at us, what we achieved today. So we are able, with our Google Service account, with our deployment pipeline, with everything we created, to build a Flutter application in Android, push it via Android Codemagic, and get a release ready in our Google Play console. But now, let's talk about the special trick that I wanted to show you. We want to talk about the GitHub and tag creation. So, but wait, there is one trick of the day that I wanted to show you, and it is actually in GitHub. As I said, we want to trigger by tag creation, and I want to show you what that means actually. So on the right side, we find this release tab in GitHub, and if I go on to that, I can choose a tag name that will be created with the release. So let's take version 1.0.0, for example, and I create a new tag. Now it's up here. We gave it a title, for example, version 01, release information. We add some cool information like new looks, new design, everything works better. And if we have that, we press on publish release. And thanks to our trigger that we have created on Codemagic side, if we switch over and go to our app, into our account, it's loading, we can see the build is triggered automatically inside of the CI CD. That means whenever you have a new version, you can deploy it with that automatically. I would recommend you, of course, to run the tests first and also make that triggering by the tag creation. But that's a very cool feature to make sure that your release is always up to date with the releases you create on GitHub, so you are not out of sync. Great. And that's it for the video. If you want to see more, check out all the other videos on our channel, like and subscribe this channel, and thanks so much for watching. Bye.